Thank you. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. I'm Dave Jenks. If you haven't been here at these sessions, we've done two already. One, Magic Comes in Threes, and then Why List With Me, a powerful one. We did both of those last month. This is one of the next three that we're doing. Your Market Center, Eric and Lauren have committed to bringing me here, so I want you to give them credit for that. They reached out, said, Dave, we love the wonderful work we hear you're doing across the system. We want you to be here with our great Plainville gang, it's interesting. You guys own the I-95, I-495 intersection, right? I mean, just any real estate around there, you guys own it. I love that. And so congratulations on that. And I want to thank again, Lauren, for the arrangements to making this happen. Today, we're going to look at the overlooked secrets of MREA. And one of the neat opportunities that I had in my real estate career was to help co-author this book. It's an interesting thing. I've been in real estate for 30 years. Well, but at that time, about 20 years, a little over 20 years, and had watched. I had been a divisional president for 7 states of Century 21. And I watched this little company growing down in Austin, Texas. And I said, well, if I were going to invent a real estate company, it would be like this one, not like the big corporate brand driven Century 21 that I was with. It would be like this company that Gary Keller's founding. And I said, I really think that's the future of real estate. Well, 4 years later, I got a call from Mo Anderson. And she said, Dave, Gary and I would like to have you on our team, because we think you know more about real estate franchising and the growth across the country than anyone else we know. And also we love the way that you teach and talk with agents. You're so dedicated as we are to the success of our real estate agents. So I got to do that, and Gary and I did masterminding and works with people for 7 years. And then in 2002, we decided to write the book. We decided to write the book that will change the real estate industry and make Keller Williams famous. And we did it. And we wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it's 1.4 million copies sold, the greatest selling book in the history of real estate, and still #1 in that category on Amazon.com today, 17 years later. So what I want to do today is highlight for you. Now there's 3 kind of levels of people that are probably listening to this. Some of you are just starting your career in real estate. Maybe you're in your first few months or maybe the first year. This is going to be like taking a drink out of a fire hose, because I'm going to load up the next hour and 15 minutes with so much big time content. But that's okay. Let it wash over you, and understand the resources I'm bringing to you will help you shape your career and have a bigger view of where you can take it. Some of you here are in the middle of your career. You're doing, but you want to do more. And this, I will show you how to do more, how to get more out of the book. Say The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it's not about the money, it's about being the best you can be. And of course, when you are the best you can be, the money will come. That's what happens. So, but it really starts out with being the best you can be. And I want to highlight that. And then for those of you who are on the path to the 7th level, maybe you've built a team, maybe you have admins, maybe you've started to delegate the buyer side, maybe even eventually the listing side, then I'm going to remind you of the fundamentals that are here, and also the mistakes to avoid, because there are mistakes that people make in doing this. So let's say there's all 3 levels of you. Just remember this: your future is not determined by where you've been or where you are, but where you want to be. So when you're clear about your goals and your intentions, we're going to really get into that next time in May, when we later, May 18th, when we have our next session with you called Getting What You Want. But this is going to be the foundation for that. And so your future is never determined by your past or your present. There are things you learn from your past, there are actions you take in the present, but everything is determined by your future and where you intend to go. That's what I have found for the thousands of real estate agents that I've had a chance over my career to mentor and train and work directly with. So let's dive in. So here's the thing to remember. When Gary Keller and I built Keller Williams University, the first 6 courses we built were business courses for real estate agents, because we wanted agents to think of their real estate business not as a hobby for sure, not even as a job, but as a business that they're building. And the more you view it as a business, the bigger you can take it, and the more you have a different strategy about the way you approach it. And of course, that ultimately led into us, interestingly, creating a book called The Remarkable Real Estate Sales Business Game. It was a cute little book, spiral bound, and we would give it out at every mega camp that we did. In every mega camp, we would add a few more pages to it. And that was our view, The Remarkable Real Estate Business Game. And then that turned into a manual and a course called MAPS, Mega Agent Productivity Systems. And then, of course, that turned into MAPS Consulting. But that content of that material turned into the foundation for the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So let's dive in. First of all, you need to understand it is a business. And when you treat it like a business, you treat it differently than you do a job where you're reporting to someone else and coming in and doing work. This is about strategy and technique and logistics. This is a business, and it's your business. I really want to say this. A lot of people have this need that they kind of feel they need to be altruistic, that it's about it's about doing things for other people. Well, yes, in a sense, we're in a service business. As Zig Ziglar said, you will get what you want in direct proportion to the number of people who you help get what they want. So yes, we use our God-given talents to provide great service to people. They pay us, and as Gary Keller says, we fund our mission in life. But it is your business. It's important for you to take the identity of your business, and you are its primary asset, the most important asset in your business. Yes, your staff are important. Of course, your clients are important. Your database is your business, but you are the primary asset. You are the one that gives it the wisdom and the direction. In fact, you're the brand. And so you're the reputation. And here's the thing to remember: for all the stuff going on with social media and technology and big companies trying to get in the real estate business, the thing to remember is real estate is a local business. Everything is local. The rules are local, the procedure local, the people are local, the relationships are local. Everything is local. What makes a property valuable is local. So it's always been, it's not a national business, it's a local business. And it's a local business based on relationships, reputation, and trust. Write down those three words. Everything in your life is based on, in success in real estate, is based on relationship, reputation, and trust. It's you building relationships with people. We call it mind share. When they think of real estate, they think of you. You're getting in that realtor slot in their mind. So you're getting mind share, and then that leads to a reputation. And that reputation leads to referrals. And now you become the person that people need to call if they want to know the value of their home, if they need to sell it, or they need to buy, or they want to invest, whatever your focus is. But remember, you're the brand. And a lot of people, they think that they need to have a generic name. And no, the success in the history of real estate is based on businesses that are branded by the person who launches it. Gary Keller and Joe Williams. It's Keller Williams, the largest real estate company in the world. Two people's names. Ben Kinney, the #1 producing real estate agent in all of Keller Williams. Last year, $18 million of commissions earned, $18 million. Now he has an expansion team at several locations across the country and 7 locations up in the Northwest, where he's based out of Bellingham, Washington. But Ben Kinney, for the longest time, was homesforinvestment.com, homes and the number 4 investment.com. And then he changed it probably about 12 years ago to Ben Kinney and Associates. And I asked Ben, why did you change it? He said, because people do business with people. He said, because people remember a person's name better than a generic name. They remember people's names. And he said, I'm going to work through these great people who are doing real estate, but they're going to do it under my brand. So Ben Kinney and Associates is the name of the #1, probably largest real estate agent business in the country, probably for any brand. So you are the brand, you are the reputation. Be very personal about this. Now others get to work with you and benefit from that, but you're the brand. Next thing is, here's what you bring as an owner. You bring vision, purpose, and standards. That's what ownership brings. We're going to talk about a concept called the seventh level. I'll tell you about that in a second. You may already know it if you've read Mrea. But what you become an owner of this business. And as an owner of a business, what you bring to it is vision for where it's going and what its purpose, what it stands for, what it delivers, and the standards of the quality of the way it works, the experience people get when they work with you and your team in getting real estate services. So you bring that. And the other thing that an owner brings, and we'll talk more, probably several times about this in this, is you bring accountability. Owners bring accountability. Gary Keller says, I built this company on accountability. First, he said, I got great consulting, and I was accountable to that great consulting, and that allowed me to get launched. And then I began to hold my people accountable to the service we provide, the productivity we gain and earn, and the profitability we generate. I hold my team accountable. And I would tell you, all great business owners hold their team accountable. And it doesn't mean they're mean. It just means they have a sense of the company's purpose and the way it delivers service and the productivity of its people and the profitability of it as a business enterprise. So this is what we do when we build an Mrea business. Now, there is a path. This is important to understand. There's a path to this level of building a business. First, you master the fundamentals. This business is based on fundamental. We said it's local. It's based on relationship, reputation, and trust. Well, what generates reputation and trust? These things. We talked about this back when we did the magic comes in threes. We said, and we also talked about this in Why List with Me. So I'm not going to repeat it other than to say our whole business is based on competence. That's what gives you your reputation, competence. Competence leads to confidence, but competence also leads to reputation. People know that you have the knowledge and the skills and the attitudes of a person who they should list with. We covered this in Why List with Me. So you know the legal side of the business inside and out, you know the financing inside and out, you know appraisal and the value of properties inside and out. You have the skills, you know how to find business and attract it, both prospect, ask for business, in the McKissick's rule, ask for business and not be attached to the answer. You know how to attract it, offer response marketing. All of this is covered in chapter 4 of the book Shift. You know how to make an effective presentation. We talked about that last time in Why List with Me. You've mastered your scripts, your dialogues. You've mastered your presentation fundamentals. You've mastered page 95 of Mrea, where it talks about how to fundamentally give a great listing presentation and also a buyer rep presentation. And you've mastered the skills of negotiating to get win-win agreements for everybody. And then you have the attitudes of a high achiever. You have intention, you make things happen. You have optimism, you know you can make a difference. And you have resilience, you know you can deal with short-term failure and mental toughness. Gary Keller says we fail our way to success. That's my experience. Everybody in the business will experience failure and discouragement, and even sometimes depression, certainly anxiety. And we learn how to overcome that. And we covered that back in Magic Comes in Threes, that building the mental toughness. So by the way, Lauren has recorded each of these sessions. And so they're there. And I highly recommend you go back and listen. If you didn't hear it the first time, for sure go back and get it. Magic Comes in Threes, which is about building mental toughness and about the fundamentals of the business. And then Why List with Me, how to build a world-class listing presentation. That's all there. And you can go listen to it. And if you want, order some materials or get some, or you don't have to pay for them, get some materials from me. So we master the fundamentals. Then we become the master of the 3 L's. And this is so focused on in Mrea. And it's one of the things that you'll really understand. The whole success in real estate is based on leads, listings, and leverage. First, it's on mastering the art of asking for business and attracting business. And that is that should take up 1/3 of your time. Lead generation. 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, it's lead generation. Go to page 79 of the book Shift, and it will tell you what to do in those 3 hours. But we are the masters of lead generation. As Gary Keller says, there are 2 businesses. Every business has 2 parts. One is the technical, transactional side of what you deliver That is real estate, successful real estate transactions. And the other side is getting the opportunity to do that, which is lead generation, building a database, attracting people and having them list with you or sign up to buy with you. Anyway, it's lead generation. And then it's listings, because listings are where you gain your reputation, right? When you list in a property, it gives you instant credibility in that neighborhood. When it sells, you get even greater credibility. And we talk later about doing what just listed, just sold cards to reinforce that local reputation. So it's listings. And then finally, and we're going to talk more about that today, it's leverage, getting other people to work with you, building a business of people, highly skilled, trained specialists who work under your leadership and direction so that you can do more business. That's how we get people to go to the 7th level. You know, like take Linda McKissick as an example. She's a great example. She was failing out of real estate in 1991, failing out, ready to quit, only making about $15,000 a year. And she needed more. She was ready to quit. And then she said, Dave, I learned I could take control of my business. I could learn how to make presentations, and I could learn how to ask for business. And so I stopped being passive and I got active. And then she went, and 8 years later, here's what her life looked like. The McKissick Group, our systems are your solution. That was the motto, the slogan of the group. She closed 352 sales. 8 years after almost failing out of real estate, she closed 352 sales. She had 4 admins, 5 buyer specialists, 2 listing specialists, and a manager. She wasn't even managing it. She hired a manager. So she was the owner. We call that the 7th level. When you build a business under your brand and your model and your name, and you hold it accountable, you're the owner of that business. And that's called 7th level. So how to get there? Leverage. Gathering other people, highly talented, coordinating their work. We're going to talk about that later. And then you always are the rainmaker. You cannot move away from that. You are the one that brings the rain. That's why lead generation is number 1. That's what you're the one that generates business. You build a reputation. You know how to attract business. You know how to convert leads into appointments. You are the master of lead generation. You are the rainmaker. And that gives you then the opportunity to bring other people into the business with you. And you install systems. Make a big note of this. Michael Gerber, in his book, The E-Myth, or his second revision of that called The E-Myth Revisited, talks about that. He said, entrepreneurs orchestrate their business. Otherwise, they just keep a job. But he said, if they're going to make it a business, you orchestrate it, you systematize it. Everything that is done on a repetitive basis in your business has a system. And we say systems are the ACE, ACE of business, because it causes the right thing to happen, A, automatically, C, consistently, and E, efficiently, ACE, automatically, consistently, and efficiently. So when you install systems, whether it's checklists or scripts and dialogues or filing systems, or procedural things, or an operations manual. I'm going to show you that in just a little bit. Whether you do any of that, it's how you orchestrate the business so that all the right things happen, how? Automatically, consistently, and efficiently. That's one of the powers in business. And then, by the way, you take all the ceilings off. No ceilings, no limits. Success without limits. You go, I can take this as big as I want, as big as I choose. It's always a choice. I can keep it small, I can take it big, I can do like Ben Kinney and have multiple expansion. Keller Williams is that company that really offers agents both the direction, the guidance, and the freedom to take their business as big as they want. I know an agent who was number 1 in Northern Indiana in her area for Keller Williams, and number 1 in her MLS for over 10 years. Decided she wanted to move the family south to Naples, Florida. So now she has a double-sided business, 1 in Northern Indiana, 1 in Naples, and both of them are cooking. Why? Because she knows how to build businesses, and she does it with no ceilings, no limits. You can do the same, and your path you don't have to make that decision now. That path will evolve for you. Now, the next thing is there's a business mindset, and I'm going to be just clear about this. We're going to cover this a little more in detail in our next session on May 18th, but this is it. You know what you want and why you want it. It's really important to understand. That's why it's your business. because it's meeting your goals, not somebody else's. Yes, you serve other people. You hire people to succeed on your team, but your job is not to please them. Your job is to empower them. So you know what you want and why you want it, your payoffs. And then you know how you're going to get it. That's what MREA is. MREA is the path. MREA and shift, both next to each other, are the path on how you get what you want. And you know when you're going to do it. You time block. You put it on your calendar. Somebody once asked Gary and I, how did you guys write, or how they asked me first, how did you guys write the best-selling book in the history of real estate? You only had about 8,000 agents in the whole company. You were trying to grow. You were adding new people. You all had different jobs you were doing. You only had 25 people on the entire international staff of this company. How did you guys have the time? How were you able to write the best-selling book in the history of real estate? And my answer was Tuesdays with Gary. Every Tuesday afternoon, Gary, Jay, and I got together from 1 to 4, and all we did was work on the book. That was it. No one else could interrupt us, anything. That was our time, 3 hours a week. We worked on the book. 10 months later, we had written the best-selling book in the history of real estate. Now, well, how did we do it? We time blocked. Same thing for you. To go big, you take control of your time and you block to do the things you want. Page 79 of the book Shift will tell you how to do that. And then you have a tracking system. Just remember this: what gets measured gets done, what gets tracked improves. What gets measured gets done. So the first thing you do is measure things, because then you'll do them. And what gets tracked and looked at on an ongoing basis improves. We call it feedback is the breakfast of champions. When you get feedback on your production, your results, your conversions, your appointments, your sales, your number of people in your database, all your key numbers, when you track those, they improve. They just improve because you're paying attention to them, and your intention is to improve them, but you have to keep track to improve. And then you have an action plan. You take action. This is an action business, so you have a calendar every day of the activities you're going to do, and you do those activities. Remember, there's a balance in business between urgency and patience. Urgency and patience. It's a balance. You're urgent about getting at the things today and doing them. Very urgent about getting things done and making calls and setting up systems and we're serving people. But you're very patient about the outcomes, because the outcomes will come when they come, and they come in batches, and growth comes in plateaus. And there's a lot of work at the front end that doesn't lead to immediate results, but it will lead to long-term results. So urgent about your today's activities, patient about the outcomes. And then finally, you have an accountability system to keep you on track. You have a coach or someone you meet with that holds you accountable. The first part of accountability is, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's the self-accountability. But the other is you allow someone else to hold you accountable by having regular meetings where they hold you accountable. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as a system, but accountability is how you stay on track. Gary Keller says, I built this company on accountability. I got a great coach. He did. I paid that coach what they asked, and I did what they said. Accountability is powerful. All right. Now there's an owner's manual, and I want to very briefly, because I did this back in The Magic Comes in Threes. So I want to make it clear that MREA and Shift are the dashboard of your company. Those two books are the foundation. And by the way, one of the, some people they know those books are around, but they don't read them. They don't master them. They're meant to be mastered. You on your desk should have MREA and Shift side by side with each other. Okay, coil bound so they lay flat and you can flip through them. And they are the dashboard of your business. And there's the two books. MREA is your strategic business guide, the big picture and all the big steps you take. Still has some fundamental techniques in it, but it's really the strategic picture. Shift is your tactical manual, right? And let me just take a minute to show you what's, hang on a sec. I just need to go back up, and there we go. That's what I'm looking for. So what I want to show you is that we wrote these two books with you in mind, okay? With you in mind. In other words, we knew that the people that were going to read these books were fast-moving entrepreneurs, that you were action-oriented people, not scholars, not people who sat down. You were very bright, but you didn't just sit down and read books and read manuals and all that stuff. You wanted to go make things happen. So we wrote this book as a way to make things happen. Okay. In other words, the book is full of eye candy. It's got white space and headlines and cartoons and graphics and charts and inserted quotes and all kinds of things that make this incredibly easy to read and to scan. I'm a scanner. I love to scan books, for business books and personal development books. I love to scan them. I really do. Because I don't want to get bogged down in the details. So I love scanning books, and this is a book that is ultimately scannable. So what I've done here on one page is create a directory for you, which I'll send to you. I'll tell you how to get this. The magical pages of MREA. First of all, the first magical pages are the table of contents. It's 4 long pages, and you can look at it. And so the whole book is outlined right there on 4 pages. You can get a whole idea of the book and a whole idea of your real estate career on 1 page, right? And then page 71, on 4 pages. Then on page 71 are the 9 ways an MREA thinks, beginning with service and commitment to standards and competitive mindset. And then page 95, I said it, and we covered this very much in Why List With Me, the 10 services you provide sellers. There's a listing presentation right there on page 95 and a buyer rep presentation, both on the same page. And it's so clear, you could just take a photocopy of that, take it into a listing appointment and read it, and it would be better than probably 95% of any listing presentations they've ever heard. Then page 122, magical. You could just make 1 copy of that page. It's all 4 of the models of MREA, right? The economic model, the lead generation model, the budget model, and the organizational model, all on 1 page. You just put that up above your desk, make a big poster of it, and that's the guide for your whole career. Then page 1, in the 130s to 140s, is the whole way to use your database, how to gain mind share, how to be the person when more and more people, when they think of real estate, they think of you, and how to use your database as your business, how to do your 8x8s and your 33 touches and your 12 direct. And by the way, the neat thing about Keller Williams with Command now and all the marketing materials with Command, all that stuff's been created for you. The 8x8s, the 33 touches, all that's created. All you have to do is personalize it to you. All that material's there. You don't have to spend a lot of time inventing it, but you do have to know about doing it and implementing it. And that's all covered here, how to build a referral-based business. And then page 196 to 203 is the whole game of leverage right there in 7 pages. It's the whole path to leverage. It's how you add people. It's what you have them do. There's a section right after that on compensation. That's wonderful, how you compensate them. And it's how you build a team, how you take it from you doing everything up to where you're the owner and other people are doing everything. The Linda McKissick 7th level model tells you all of that right there. And then of course, it talks about how to build teamwork and then the 5 steps to high achievement. So all of this, these are the magical pages. And I say this to you because, you know, I want you to be able to know what's there. Now, the other thing that I want is to be able to kind of have you understand what a lot of people do not realize why we wrote Shift, right? They just don't. And they don't realize what that book's about, probably because of its title. In other words, it was 5 years after we had written MREA, and we knew it was going to be and was already a bestseller, and we knew that. And we said, okay, is it time to do a revised edition, an MREA 2? And we said, well, let's look. And we looked and said, well, other than a few typos, there's nothing we change. It's still fundamentally the truth of real estate. But we said, what didn't we put in MREA? We didn't put the tactics. We didn't put the sales tactics, how to ask for business, how to convert leads into production, how to use your database to do social marketing, how to use the internet, how to get your sellers to price it right, and stage it right, and how to get buyers to have a sense of urgency. Of course, at the time, we were dealing in a market that was deeply moving from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Now, right now, all of you are dealing with a seller's market. I know it, and it's crazy. It's frustrating for buyers. It's all of that. We're doing more business, but we have a low inventory. So things are selling quickly, and we're having multiple offers, and buyers, unless a buyer is really serious in getting their offer right, they're going to get knocked out. And dealing with their expectations is a big challenge, but we always have that. See, when we did Shift back 12 years ago, we were dealing with the opposite. We had to get sellers to get serious about how they priced it and how they staged it. And we had to get buyers to not be afraid and to actually make offers. And so the market we're in, and that's what the first chapters of Shift is about, is we are in a cyclical business. It goes from sellers markets to buyers markets to sellers markets to buyers markets. It even goes cyclically during any year. So we have to deal with the cycles of the business. That's what this book is about. But really what it's about is, and I write this down, chapter 4 through 9 and chapter 12. Those are the key tactics of real estate sales success. Chapter 4, find the motivated. It's all about how to ask for business and how to attract it, offer response marketing, what to do in your 3 hours. I said page 79, it's right there, what to do in your 3 hours, right? How the 2 M's of lead generation, the message and the market, and then how to use those 3 hours, but then also how to convert any lead you have into appointments so you can build a relationship and go for a transaction. That's chapter 5. And then how to use the internet, chapter 6. Chapter 7 and 8 are about how to get buyers to price it right and stage it right. And then chapter 9 is how to work effectively with buyers. And then at the end of the day, chapter 12 is about bulletproofing the transaction. How do you be in control, even if the other agent on the other side of the transaction's letting you down, if people aren't responding to your calls, if it comes in with a bad appraisal, all of those things is covered on how to handle that, how to bulletproof your transaction. So anyway, these are the magical pages of Shift. I just wanted you to know that, and I want you to value that book maybe more than you have, okay? Because that book is an amazing guide. And by the way, I will send, there's 5 documents I will send you if you will write me. So you write me, Dave@kw.com, DAVE @kw.com. And I will send you all these slides that I'm doing, plus 5 other documents, 2 of which will be that detailed outline of MREA and that detailed magical pages of Shift, plus some other ones. Get ready. So just what I need, you have to earn it though, no giveaways. And the way you earn it is you give me 3 ahas that you got from this session today. And we're not even halfway through. Give me 3 ahas. When you get to the end of it, say, Dave, here are 3 insights or 3 things that stood out for me that was really important about this seminar. Send that to me, and I will, within a day, I promise I will send you all the things that I'm covering today, including all these slides. Now, so this owner's manual, so the key to the owner's manual is know these KP pages and review them. Go through, we say in the book, you should read it 12 times. I believe that's true. You should at least scan it or review it 12 times. To really know what's there. And the same thing with Shift. It's the repetition. A lot of people don't understand that the top agents are committed to learning and personal development. And they go to the same training multiple times. Linda McKissick, who I said is at a 7th level, now she owns a region and multiple market centers and income properties. She and her husband Jimmy have multiple streams of passive income. And she said, I have been to career visioning 12 times. She said, I've gone to that course 12 times. And every time I learned something new about how to hire people, how to get them started in their first 100 days, how to be an effective leader manager. She said, all Keller Williams training, she says, I go to on a repetitive basis. So know the key pages and review them. Memorize the business wisdom. Have it in your mind. Know what the 3 L's are. Know what the 9 ways an MREA thinks are. Know we're going to cover it in a second, the job descriptions, right? And then copy all the diagrams and have them posted around your desk up big around. So you have this visual contact of that every day, right? It informs you and it guides you and it directs you and it motivates you actually. Now, there are steps to follow to build this. And this is important because there's 3 big phases in building a business. And they're very different and there's different skills in each one. You have the skill to do it, but you have to develop that skill. And so it's the I do it, we do it, they do it. It's that. And I do it is about productivity. We do it is about teamwork, and they do it is about accountability, right? Just get this clear in your mind. The first thing you master is your own personal productivity, doing more business in less time because you're efficient and effective in working with sellers and buyers. And then we do it, it's where you add people in to do different parts of the transaction and they work like a team, they back each other up, and you deliver better service and you deliver opportunity for them and for you. It takes you to the highest level of doing your business. And then finally, it's they do it. You're the owner like Linda. You don't do anything anymore directly with customers or clients, but your team does under your standards and direction. It's still your influence because you built this. This is your vision and your way of doing service, but you hold it accountable. You are constantly watching it. You're rewarding people for the right behavior, correcting incorrect, bad behavior, and helping people succeed in the business. Now, all of this is focused on the concept of dollar productive activities, that in any business, it's kind of Gary Keller's 20-80 rule, right? That he covers in the one thing. And that is that 20% of what we do will lead to 80% of the results we want. So there are things in real estate we get paid for more than other things that may get done. And those are called dollar productive activities. And you as a leader of a real estate production team or business, first of all, yourself, you get focused on dollar productive activities. And then you leverage as much as you can everything else other than the dollar productive activities, which is what you focus on. And then that increases your dollars per hour. Now, one of the metrics I really think every agent I consulted with tracked this number. It's your dollars per hour tracked on at least a monthly basis. And what you do is you take your net income for the month, and that is your commissions earned, take out your expenses, and that what's left is called your take-home pay, right? Your net income. That's before taxes. Taxes are a different issue. This would be like if you had a real job, this would be your salary, right? So it's your income, your personal income after business expenses, but before taxes or any other personal takeouts. You divide that by the number of hours that you worked. And by the way, those are your 2 assets, money and time. Money and time are your 2 assets in addition to your talent, right? Money and time, 3 things that determine your success in life. Talent, both inherent and what you've developed. So your knowledge, skills, and attitude, your talent, your time, and your money. So this one, these you ought to be keeping track of this anyway. You ought to know how many hours roughly you worked in a month. You ought to be keeping track of that, right? And you know the income. So you divide the income by the hours. And since we're early on in the business, it may be a negative number, right? We may lose a bunch. We may have a month where we had no income and a lot and expenses. So we have a negative number. Last month, my dollars per hour was minus $15 an hour. I lost $15 for every hour I worked. Okay. By the way, just pay attention to it. Remember this, we said it earlier, what gets tracked improves. When you track your dollars per hour, it will improve. It's like Mo Anderson. Mo Anderson came to Keller Williams almost $1 million in debt from the big crash in the oil and real estate and banking business in Oklahoma. She and her husband, Richard, were almost $1 million in debt. And when Gary Keller said, track your net worth, she said, yeah, but it's negative. He said, track it. Just track it every month, track it. So she started tracking her net worth. And then she said, I remember she said, Dave, I'm only at negative $500,000. Oh, Dave, I'm only at negative $100,000. And we had a big celebration when her net worth went to zero. Isn't that neat? So here's the thing, just no matter what the number is, you track it, right? And then that's your dollars per hour. So keep track of that, because here's what will happen. Most high achieving top producers are making about $30 to $50 an hour before they get leverage, before they get any administrative help or whatever. Basically, that's what they're getting for the time they put in their business, $30 to $50 an hour. Once they get leverage, they have admins and people, transaction coordinators, and now they're focused on their own productivity, their dollar productive activities. It goes up into the hundreds, $200, $300, $400 an hour. That's what their time becomes worth. And then when you get to the Linda McKissick level, where you are working 5 hours a week, supervising your team, and they're doing all the work. And, so she was putting in about, 5 hours a week to, 40 weeks a year, about 200 hours of work. And she was making $400,000. So she was making $2,000 an hour. So $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And when you own a business like Ben McKinney, Ben Kinney, think about what his, at $18 million of income, what his dollars per hour probably is as a real estate agent. So 3,300, but you want to track your dollars per hour and then play the long game. See, don't get so caught up in urgent short-term games. Play the long game. What I found in looking at the millionaire real estate agents that we highlighted in the back of the book, it took them on an average of 17 years to get to the point where they were either generating $1 million or netting $1 million in income. They had to ramp it up. So the game takes a lot of work at the beginning with only modest results, modest. And then once it takes off, it's like a 747 taking off the runway, a lot of power, and it's getting more and more speed. But then when it lifts off the runway, it just goes up big. That's how real estate production happens. The real work you're doing is at the front end. That's where the learning takes place. That's where the fundamentals take place. That's where your database gets built. All those fundamental things happen at the beginning so that you can really take it big later, but play the long game. Play the long game. Now, let's focus on this dollar productive activities. I just want to get this clear in our head. There are seven really dollar productive activities. The first two are lead generation and lead follow-up. Prospecting and marketing, asking for business and attracting it. That's number one. Number two is lead follow-up, though, converting those into appointments. A lot of agents make a big mistake in delegating that to people too fast. We have a little cartoon in MREA where it shows a desk and these leads in little notes on it, being burning. Actually, it's dollars on the desk being burned. And we say, when you let someone else convert your leads, you might as well just be lighting a match to money and burning it up, because that's money and you can convert it better than anyone else. So Craig Proctor, who was the #1 real estate agent in all of Canada for RE/MAX and teaches this, he said, Dave, when I was in the height of my business, I always spent an hour a day doing lead conversion. He said, I would take the leads and I would call them. I was the best person. I was the most articulate. I knew my value proposition. I knew why they would work with us. I could answer their questions. I would set up their appointments. Then I would set them their appointments with someone on the team. Some with me, but mostly with other people on the team. But I was the one doing the converting, because no one does it better than I do. So remember that. You're the one who does lead, you're the one who does listing appointments. You're the one who does, the value of your team is the point. Your skill is at the highest level. And what you want your people to do is go put those people under contract. That's what they do. Now, the next one is listing appointments with sellers mostly, but also we consider the buyer rep appointment a listing appointment with buyers. So that's the next most productive. And then, of course, the one where time is of the essence, that is negotiating offers, gaining agreement, doing the negotiations and back and forth and counter offers and getting it down to a final contract. That obviously, but that's something you have to be available to respond to, but it's a high dollar productive activity. So these are the big four. And the more you can orient that more and more of your time is only spent on the big four. Now, the next three are important, but they're not as important as the top four. And that is market research, knowing knowing the market, knowing the inventory, knowing the pricing, knowing trends that are going on. That helps you do your CMAs, helps you do your marketing information that you put out there, helps you get pricing done right. And then, of course, building your own skills. See, a lot of people forget that this is really a difficult sport we play. And we have to train our skills. That's what we talked about in Why List With Me. We have to master our listing presentation. We have to master it. We have to memorize those scripts and dialogues and the answers and how to present ourselves. And we do that in our marketing too. So we have to build our own skill, and taking time to build your skill, going to training like this today. It's never convenient to go to training. There's always a bunch of other things you could be doing. But this, for people who are training oriented and skill building directed, this is where they come, because they want that chance. And then we need to work efficiently with buyers, and put a little star by that, because a lot of people don't work efficiently with buyers, and they try and delegate that too soon. And if you haven't learned to work efficiently with a buyer, how can you train somebody else? Right, here's what we did. We did the research, and we found that the best agents average about 10 or 12 hours between the time they meet a buyer and the time the buyer goes under contract in a home. 10 to 12 hours, right? If it's more than that, you're not working efficiently. Now, you can get down as low as Mike Mendoza taught us, to 4 to 6. I asked Mike in the year we interviewed him, I said, Mike, so last year, how many listings did you take? He said, 172. I said, I don't mean your whole team. I said, I mean you personally. 172. I took 172 listings myself. Oh, okay. How many sold? 165. All right. So you probably don't work with buyers anymore, right? Oh, no, Dave, I work with buyers. Are you kidding me? Buyers are easy. Buyers are fun. And then he said, they're easy money, but also eventually they're going to sell, and that's a listing. And no, I work with buyers. I said, well, how many buyers did you put under contract? He said, 51. I said, what? You took 172 listings and you put 51 buyers under contract in 1 year? That's a lot of work. And he went, Dave, are you kidding me? He said, it's not like going to a coal mine. I play a lot of golf. He said, I go to all my children's athletic events, and I have dinner with my family every night. It's just that when I work, I'm on purpose. I go, wow, that's interesting. I said, well, when you work with a buyer, how much time does it take from the time you meet with them until face-to-face time with them until they're under a contract in a home? And he went, 4 to 6 hours. I said, really? How do you do that? He said, well, they meet with my mortgage officer to get pre-approved. And then I talk with them about what their interests are. And I give them a map of the area and have them go on a personal tour. I don't go with them, to look in various neighborhoods and homes. They come back. We talk about that, 15 minutes. He said, I set up their first showing appointments. All my showing appointments are no more than 2 hours. That's it. He said, every showing appointment is a 2-hour time slot. We'll look at 4 or 5 homes. And he said, if you take more time than that or show them more homes, everyone gets confused and it's not a good use of your time. So he said, 70% of the time they will buy one of the 4 homes that I show them. And I say that, you will probably buy one of these homes. This is meant for you. Now, he said, if they don't like any of those, then I get a better feel for them. And I set up another showing appointment and I say, I'm going to look at 4 more homes and you will buy one of those. And they go, oh, okay, Mike, okay. Because they want directions. Showing people more homes does not improve the experience or their satisfaction. It does not. We need to understand that. They need our leadership. So anyway, that's why it does 4 to 6 hours. So have a tight sense of your efficiency in working with buyers. That makes it a dollar productive activity. If you're taking longer than that, it's not really dollar productive anymore. So there are the $7 productive activities. We get real clear on that. Now, here are the 5 big mistakes that agents make. No, the number one mistake is they don't read the book. They know it. Maybe it's on their desk. Maybe it's up in but they haven't read it, let alone read it multiple times, let alone mastered the key pages. So number one is read the books, right? Read the books. Now, the first thing they do is they underappreciate administrative staff. There's a reason we say your first 2 hires are admins, because here's what admins give you. They give stability in your business. They give you a productivity for yourself, and they give better consumer satisfaction. In other words, your consumers will be more satisfied being dealt with a listing, a transaction coordinator or a transaction coordinator than by you, because they'll get more hands-on treatment and the person will be there when they need to call. So they're also your gatekeepers. people, they deal with people's issues and it doesn't have to interrupt you unless it needs to, and then they know to reach you. So it gives you control of your time and increases your productivity. So if you're doing 20, 24 transactions on your own in a year, you add an admin and you'll go up to 80 to 100 transactions. If you add the right admin, and then when you add the second admin, you can be like a Mike Mendoza, virtually 200 transactions without hiring a buyer's associate. Or then, as we say in the book, now let's go to the next part. So administrative staff, just remember this, Russell Shaw was one of the guys we highlighted in the back of the book. And here's what his team looked like: 8 admins, 2 buyer specialists, 1.5 listing specialists. And why could he took 400 transactions a year. His listing specialist did. Why? Because he would get his appointments the night before. He would come to the office. He would get his packets already done for him. The CMA was done for him. The tax records were there. All the marketing materials. He would just take his packet out, make his presentation, get the listing, do some measurements, take some pictures, bring it back, give it to the transaction coordinator. Never saw that person again. Never saw that seller again. His buyer's agents would do the same thing. The appointments would be set up with a buyer. They'd do a showing. They'd get them under contract in the home. They'd hand the contract over to the transaction coordinator, and then that was it. Because that was the part of the game. And the admins, of his 8 admins, 4 of them were licensed brokers. And 2 of them had owned their own real estate companies, but they loved working with him. They loved the administrative work. They loved the details of real estate. So you can get great administrative people, and they can help you be incredibly productive. Here's the next thing: not building a team of specialists. People think that you need to hire somebody who's going to take listings and work with buyers and all that, and then all you're building is a brokerage within the brokerage. And by the way, the profit margin is thin on that, and also the value proposition is thin. You want a team of specialists, and you want a team of specialists that are motivated, learning-based, and service-focused under your name, by the way. Hi, I'm really thank you for the chance to come and earn the right to handle the sale of your home. I work for Dave, and Dave is just a great guy to work for. We have a great team of people delivering this. By the way, we were talking this morning and Dave asked me to call you, and it's always done in the name of the agent. Everything is done in the name of the team. It's a team orientation. And by the way, again, we go to productivity, right? We go to productivity. And one of the things that I want, because a lot of agents struggle with this idea of productive buyer's agents. See, if I'm running a team, I'm going to expect my buyer's agents to do 1 a week. It only takes 12 hours of contact time to do a transaction, to get somebody under contract. That's an average. So doing 1 of those a week ought to be a piece of cake. And it is. Mike Mendoza could do it and take 172 listings and still do 1 a week. So I have a 2-page document here on how to have high performance buyer specialists. And one of the things is we become a coach, a teacher, leader of high performance. So we want people on our team that want to do a lot. And here, what this tells you in this 2-page document is, here are the 10 things that allow a buyer agent to be really focused on productivity. And then the 16 weekly or monthly activities they'll be engaged in. And then the final thing on it are the 18 reasons for them to be with you. Because the fundamental thing I teach is that there are 2 great opportunities in real estate. One is to be a mega agent, to be an MREA, but that takes a lot of work and a lot of stress and a lot of risk. The other is to be a buyer agent or a listing specialist on a mega agent team, because then you do what you love to do and are good at, and all the other stuff, the lead generation, the administrative detail, the financial management is all taken on by your mega agent and the team. So you can be focused on doing what you love to do. This is the best deal there is. And So I just want that to be clear. And I'll send this to anyone who writes, dave@kw.com. And I will send this high performance buyer specialist to you along with the slides and the other documents. Okay. So let's go back to where we were. So that's another mistake, not hiring motivated people who want to succeed in your economic model. You do not have to give it away. I promise you. To me, the most highly effective teams, their buyer specialists are getting about something around 40% of the commission, and their listing specialists around 20%. And that's why the cost of sale average is 30. And the reason is because they're going to be more successful. You can look in the eye of an agent and say, you will make more take-home pay on my team than anywhere else in the real estate industry. And they go, yeah, but I could get like a 70% split down there. Oh, you're interested in splits. Oh, I can send you to somebody that'll give you 80, 90% split. I thought you were worried about how much money you're going to take home for you and your family. See, here, I'm focused on take home pay. How much money, and under my system with my leads and my staff and my coaching, you're going to be much more productive. You will make more take home pay with me than anywhere else in the real estate industry. So you need to have that confidence to say that to them. It's really, really important that you do that. Next thing is not holding people accountable. Not having a daily or certainly a weekly meeting with them about their productivity and how they're doing with their leads and their follow-up and your admins for how we're processing transactions. Holding people accountable, having meetings that are production oriented is a key to running a great business. And then finally, not maintaining profitability. And I said, the magic formula that we put in the book is 30, 30, 40. There's a whole chart of accounts in the back on how you keep track of that. It's 30% cost of sale. That is what you're paying other people like buyer specialist and listing specialist. It's 30% expenses, staffing, marketing, technology, and 40% to the bottom line. That's the game. Some people are taking 50%, but 30, 30, 40. Now you can take whatever you want. There's no rules here. You can take 30% to the bottom line, 20%, 10, if that's what you choose to do. But the mistake in not following the model is not taking 40. That's why we put it as the model, right? Now here, the fundamental thing I want to talk about is the systems that drive an MREA. Number one is you have a goal setting system, a 135 and a 411. We're going to talk about that next time in Getting What You Want, but I'm sure you've had coverage of it in Keller Williams training. We believe in the 135, the 411, and that's how we get things done. And we know that our business is our database. So we're using Command, best CRM, best agent focused database in the history of real estate, getting better every week, has marketing tools to do offer response, to do 12 direct, 33 touch, all of that there, and a production tracking system so that, what you track improves. It's all there. You put that in place in your business. Your business is your database. And then you keep track on a monthly basis of your profit and loss that you keep track. Remember, what you track improves. So if you're keeping track of your profit and loss and you're calculating your dollars per hour, all those financial numbers will improve. And then you need job descriptions. And one of the things that Gary and I taught was that what you really want on a business is to define what people are going to do and give them a big job description, one that challenges them, not one that dumbs it down for them. And so one of the things that we did, and I want to share this with you because it's so amazing. As we were preparing for Mega Camp every year, Gary Keller would say, okay, how can we make it better? Gary Keller's a guy who makes everything he touches better, everything. And so that's why the books were as good as they books. That's why they're bestsellers, right? That's why the one thing is a bestseller that he and Jay did, because Gary always makes things better. It's why we have now KWX, right? And we're building all of the ancillary services focused on supporting and helping our agents, do transactions. All of this stuff is just about Constant improvement. Gary Keller said, constant improvement is better than delayed perfection. There's a nice quote to remember. Constant improvement is better than delayed perfection. Powerful, powerful. So constant improvement. So we were coming into the year 2000 and he said, okay, Dave, we've been doing all this, telling people they need to have effective job descriptions and all that, but we really haven't given them that material. We need to do that. This was about 3 months before the event. So we went out and did research, and we met with mega teams and what their people did and what the job descriptions were and all of that stuff. And what we developed was this spreadsheet, which again, I'll make this available to you. We call it the path to the 7th level wall chart, because you can take this spreadsheet, print it out at FedEx and make it like, 2 feet by 3 feet and put it up on the wall. Some of you may have seen it already. And what we have here down the left-hand side, okay, down the left-hand side are the 172 tasks of a real estate agent. 172. Now, actually, when you're a solo agent, it's 161, but once you start to build a team, it goes up to 172. But these are all here, and all those tasks on the left-hand side divided into 7 functions like research and communication and administration and transaction and closing coordination and buyer prospecting and servicing and seller prospecting and servicing, and then generic lead generation, and then finally your goal setting, planning, and leadership. So those are the 7 functions, and then there's 172 tasks. But the brilliance of this is we take each level. At level 1, it's just you. Level 2, you've added an admin. Level 3, you've added a transaction coordinator. Level 4, you've started to delegate the buyer side. Level 5, you started to delegate the listing side. And level 6 and 7, in 6, you're the CEO. You've got someone doing everything, but you're their everyday CEO. Level 7 is you've replaced yourself like Linda McKissick, and you have a manager, right? So there you go. Now, so what this does is it takes all of those tasks. Now, notice what it does is, if there's a letter under it, it's assigned to that person. But it's an X or a P. Well, what's that? Well, we say 20% of what you do leads to 80% of the results you want. So there are priority activities, those are Ps. And then there are extra things that you want to get done, X's. And so if it has an X, it's an extra. If it has a P, it's a priority. So what you can look at is this whole list, and you can see as you move from level 1 to level 2 that the tasks divvy up, they go to other people. Some are Ps, some are X's. And you get all the way at the bottom is where it tells you the secret right here. So when you're by yourself, you have 161 things to do, and 50 of them are priorities. When you delegate 70 of them. Right away, 70 are gone. And you have now 46 of 103. Then as you move up, you can see the numbers change. And when you get to the 7th level, 6th or 7th level, you now have 33 things that you're paying attention to, of which 24 are priorities. But look at this. Almost everyone on the team, of all their tasks, the vast majority are done at a priority level. And that's why mega teams can give greater service than any other entities in real estate, because everyone on the team is operating at a priority level. What they're doing, they do at a priority level. It's one of those ways, and you might show this to a seller or a buyer. Have it and say, this is how organized my team is, and this is why we deliver the great service we do, right? Or you could bring it into a for sale by owner and say, by the way, this is all the things that have to happen to cause a home to sell. Kind of an interesting thing, but I will send you a copy of this that you can go print and put on the wall. What we did we prepared it for Mega Camp. We printed it out in 2 feet by 3 feet of printing. We rolled it up and put it in a mailing tube, closed each end, and told people when they registered, we gave it to them, said, you can't open it. And then they came into the training, and at one point we said, okay, here's what we've created for you. And we put it up on the wall, and we said, you can open it up and look at it. We told them what it was. And I mean, there were oohs and ahs, and people stood up and gave us a standing ovation. And some people even cried. They went, this is amazing. This gives me such direction as to how to delegate in my team, how to have them know what their job is, right? Powerful, powerful opportunity. So I'll send that to you again. You write Dave@kw.com. and tell me your three ahas from this session. By the way, we're coming up to the time where we're going to open it for questions. So any questions you have, chat them in or be ready to, unmute and ask them. We're going to have time for any questions that you have, right? Or insights that you want to share. So this is the game, right? We're installing systems. This is where you think like a business. You have your 135, your 411, you have your database and all your marketing tools. You have a monthly profit and loss. You have your job descriptions, and then you're holding people accountable, and you're meeting with every team member once a week for an accountability session. And remember, we covered this earlier, but I'll just say it real quickly. An accountability session should only take 10 minutes. As we say, if it takes longer than that, you're into therapy or training, trying to teach them something they don't know, or help them overcome their struggles. But either way, and nothing wrong with therapy and training, it's just that it's not accountability. So accountability meeting is 5 questions, goes like this. What were you trying to do? How did you do? How do you feel about that? What are you going to do now? And then the 5th one is, what could get in your way? Right? So those are the 5 questions of an accountability meeting, right? That's what we teach in Keller Williams. Number 1 is, what were you trying to do? Your goals, your 411. Number 2 is, how did you do? Your tracking system. How did you do against your goals? Number 3 is, how do you feel about that? Because we're in an emotional business. If you feel good about it, you'll do more of it. If you feel bad about it, you'll make changes. So how do you feel about it? Number 4 is, what are you going to do now? What are your new goals? What are your new goals that you're going to set up for yourself, right? And then number 5 is, just as a reminder, what could get in the way? Is there anything that could get in the way? That's an important question for someone to be aware of in case there's something that could get in the way and they need to prepare to get past that, right? Okay, so let's kind of bring ourselves to a summary. Master the books and the models and systems. Just master that, right? Just read the books, reread them, have them coil bound, lay them out on your desk. The path to your career success sits there in those 2 books. And of course, a lot of what's on KW Connect teaches what's in those books. Then create an exciting vision for your team of service, a commitment to quality service and a description of what quality service means to you. Then focus on personal productivity, first your own, doing first things first, focused on dollar productive activity, and then train others to be more production oriented, right? More efficient, more focused on their work and their production. And then build a relationship-based reputation. Remember what I said at the beginning, real estate is a local business based on relationship, reputation, and trust. Everything is built on relationship, people who know you and think of you when they think of real estate, and your local reputation, which spreads even further through your marketing. And then that all built on trust, and that's what drives business to you. So build that. That's done in your 3 hours every day, 5 days a week. And then hire talented people. And we call them in the business soft talents. There's the hard talent is maybe technical. Maybe they were a contract coordinator somewhere else. Maybe they were a paralegal. Maybe they did some other form of selling. That's fine. But the real skills that matter are the soft skills, and we call them SAME. Hire people that are all the same: smart, attractive, motivated, and ethical. Those are things none of those things you can train, right? Smart means they're not intellectual, they're learning based, and they get things fast. They're learning based and they're a quick study. They get things fast. That's what we mean by smart. Attractive, they're fun to be with. They look good. They take good care of themselves. Not beauty. This isn't a beauty contest. They just take good care of themselves. They have a pleasant demeanor and persona. People like being with them, right? And motivated. You can motivate somebody. You can inspire them, but you can't motivate them. They have to be motivated themselves. So make sure that the people you hire on your team are motivated. They have a reason to make money. They have a reason to do well. You can tell it in their history. You can tell it in the way they talk. They're motivated. And then, of course, ethical is a foundational standard. We have to be able to trust each other. Trust begins with honesty. So we expect people to tell the truth and tell their truth. If something happens where they made a mistake, they need to admit it and say, this is what happened, even if it embarrasses them. And they have to be honest with their numbers. So if you, and then you would say to them, by the way, if I find you're ever fudging your numbers, if you're saying you made more calls than you really did, or you followed up with somebody and you really didn't, then you're going to be gone. You're going to be off the team, because I will have lost trust, and I got to have trust. Everyone on this team has to trust each other. We'll make mistakes, but we got to own up to them. So ethics are important. So hire people that are all the same: smart, attractive, motivated, and ethical, and pay them well. You have the opportunity. When people say that, when you are more productive with me, you will make more money. And my goal is to have you make more money at what you're doing. And if you do it really well, don't worry, the money will be there. And you make sure that they have that opportunity. And then install a high performance team culture. One of the things people say to me, Dave, is what's kind of like my role as the leader of this team? And the thing is, I say, be like a really successful college basketball coach, right? Because that's about the right thing. You get about 10 people on that sort of a team. So it's the right size. And here's the thing, what do successful college basketball coaches have to do? Number one is they have to recruit talent. I once had a guy I worked with, he said, you can't carve rotten wood. So if you don't have talent to begin with, you can train them all day long, you're not going to make them good. So they recruit talent, they train them to improve their skills, so they're very much a coach and a trainer of skill, and then they get them to work effectively together as a team, and then they have them go for the championship, right? So for us, we want to serve that next year 200 customers, or we want to be number one in the marketplace, or whatever it is that you want to put out to the team as what we call the big rock, the thing they're going for as a team. Then you create this team spirit. So be like a coach, not a boss. Don't be like a boss, a bossy boss. No, be a coach. You can use critique, but use encouragement more, and use getting better more. You're better than that. You can do this. That kind of encouraging word. So install a high performance team culture. And then just the final thing I say, and we'll open this up for questions. Remember, I'll give you all these slides plus the two outlines, the magical pages of MREA and Shift, the high performance buyers specialist document, and then that spreadsheet on the wall chart for the tasks and functions on the path to the 7th level, right? Send you all of that. Just send me dave@kw.com. 3 ahas, any 3. I don't judge them. This gives me feedback as to what got through, but I do it more for you than anything, because when you articulate an aha, that means you get it, and that means you're likely to go and implement it into your business life, right? So we've really focused on how to increase your own personal production by being focused on dollar productive activities, and how, if you choose to get leverage and take that even bigger. And I would just say to you, this is a great game we play. It's a wonderful game, this game of real estate, and particularly if we take it to the level of success that MREA talks about, whatever level that is. And by the way, it's not competitive and not comparative. I mean, it may be if you get up to that level and you want to be the number one in the marketplace or the number one in your MLS, okay, you can be competitive, but inherently it's not meant to be competitive or comparative. It's meant to be you doing what you want in real estate and just having and knowing the path to get there, okay? There we go. Lauren, you still with me, lady?
I am, yes.
Good, good. So anyone, if you have any questions or thoughts, I see some thank yous, and I see that that Lauren put in my email address and send the 3 takeaways, the 3 ahas. And you know, somebody's saying, you know, because I'm having negative and feelings bad about myself. And by the way, go back and listen to the Magic Comes in Threes. Lauren, we recorded both of the ones we did before, right?
We recorded the Magic Comes in Threes, but we didn't get to do the listing one. So I know we had talked about a brief follow-up, I think, in a few weeks.
Yeah, in a few weeks, you and I will plan that, okay? We'll kind of do a shortened, well, I don't know, it doesn't have to be shortened. We'll just do a recorded version. We'll give you another chance because you guys are good, all right? And since you recovered for me and not sending you the flyer, I owe it to you. So you should make me feel guilty about that, Lauren. You should say, Dave, I think you owe us an extra session because you blew it in the promotion of this one. I think it's okay to assert that. We'll plan it.
She's too nice. She's too
We'll
nice.
probably, since we're doing two in May. We're doing this one and another one later in May, and then one in June. So maybe later in June we'll do a reprise on the listing. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So you and I will work on the dates for that. Okay. But this person was saying, Nick, and I just want to say, go back to that Magic Comes in Threes, because in there I talk with people about overcoming self-doubt, self-discouragement, and some guidelines. I have the 10 best books for overcoming adversity and discouragement. I think we play a game that takes a level of mental resilience and toughness that is bigger than almost any other entrepreneurial game. There's so much competition out there. There's so many things that can go wrong in a transaction. There's challenges we deal with in the marketplace, and there's so much complexity of things to learn. And I understand that. And what you'll find from that Magic Comes in Threes are some guidelines I give you about how I overcame alcoholism in my life, how I overcame cyclical depression in my life, and kind of some real good guidelines on how to deal with your own emotional health, because you're right, that is just critical. And it's really important to give that some attention in not just the Pollyanna positive thinking way, some really realistic things you can do to increase your confidence and your feeling of, I am so glad I'm in this business. So,
well, the thing that I was kind of sad about is I track my profit and loss weekly, and my profit has been negative. Like my profit and loss tab has been negative.
yes.
Started -14, but now it's like -6. So it's like I'm getting to that point where I'm going to start making money. So for you to say that in the beginning you're in negative numbers,
Yes.
it kind of made me feel a little bit better, because
Good.
I am
Good.
in negative numbers, but the negative.
Well, I'm glad. Let me just honor you, Karina, for even keeping track of it. So that's like Mo Anderson. She felt guilty about being $900,000 in debt. Here she is, the CEO of Keller Williams. Gary just appointed her, right, in 1995 to be CEO. And she's saying, yeah, but Gary, I'm in debt. He said, just keep track of your net worth. Just keep track of it, Mo, on a monthly basis. She said, yeah, but I feel guilty about this. He said, don't. You were a great leader before. We know you've got the skills. Yes, this market upset you, upset the losses. Just keep track of it. And as I said, the story, she kept track. Now she's a multimillionaire. So keep track of it, Queen. And then just ask this question: what can I do to move the number positive? That's it. What can I do? And usually it comes down to building your database and being in touch with people. That's usually what it comes down to, being in touch with more people and reminding them that you're in real estate, and doing what we said under the listing presentation, which is, as Mike Ferry taught me, and I believe this, he said, go list a home, tell the world you listed it, sell the home, tell the world you sold it, go list another home. And so one of the most powerful things you can do is take a listing and send out 200 or 300 just listed cards or messages, because that gives you credibility. And then when it sells, send out another 200 or 300, because that gives you even more credibility when it's sold. So spin a lot of your marketing around any sales successes that you do, right? And by the way, one of the things to do, there's two things I've often thought would be wonderful to write stories about. And that is, one is called Why It Sold. So it would be like a monthly feature I would do on my website or my social media, or I'd send it out to people, and I would talk about the sale of a home and what made it sell. Was it about the staging and the pricing and the attitude of the sellers? And then now, how did we buy? See, what a great thing to do now. How did we buy? How did we get our offer accepted? What a great story. You know, here's a couple and they got their offer accepted on this home. How did they do it? They were competing against 15 other people. How did they do it? So I think the more that we tell success stories to our database, but see, we've got to have a database to tell the stories too, because I will tell you, general promotions on social media don't have impact. They have a little, and if you've got them, use them, right? If you've got those stories or you can make those posts and it goes out in a general way, fine. I'm not trying to say don't do that, but I'm saying what you really want to do is send it to people who are getting messages from you on a consistent basis.
Thank you.
You bet. No, thank you for honestly sharing. I saw the question and I didn't even name you, Karina, because I wasn't trying to highlight it. But thank you for owning up and saying that. And a couple people asked the 5 questions. Let me just repeat them real quickly. They're pretty simple, right? So it's, what were you trying to do? What were you trying to do? That's kind of a set of your goals. That's a simple way to look at the 411. You could look at that and say, okay, well, let's look at what you were trying to do. Then 2 is, how did you do? In other words, your tracking system. So if you said you were going to make 40 calls, did you make 40 calls? If you said you were going to, preview 10 properties, did you preview 10? If you said you were going to add 15 people to your database, did you add 15 people? Whatever it is, how did you do? 3, how do you feel about that? That's important because we're both motivated by positive and negative energy. If we have negative energy, we make changes. If we have positive energy, we do more of it. So that question is more critical than it sounds. And the 4th one is, what are you going to do now? In other words, what are your new goals for the coming week? And so then you recommit to those goals. And then the final question is, what could get in your way? Right? We always like to say that Gary Keller is the most black-hatted optimist of anyone we've ever known, because he believes anything's possible, but he believes in Murphy, that what can go wrong will go wrong. So he's always very careful to say what could go wrong, and let's make sure we prevent that, right? So it's not a negative question in the sense of discouraging you. It's a question that says, let's get clear so that if there's something that could be a roadblock, that we get past it. Yeah, good. And so anyone else who has, you can either type it in or just unmute yourself and say something. If you just want to even share an aha from the session, what stood out for you? What kind of idea was, or thought or concept are you finding helpful?
Dave, this is Seth.
Hi, Seth. How are you?
Good. I like what you said about the real estate is based on relationships, reputation, and trust.
Yes.
That is very true, and that's how I work. How I live my life. And
well, good for you. No, Seth, and good for you for kind of passing that on to others as kind of a reinforcement of that. See, in this age of big corporate entities trying to get into real estate and big technology companies thinking they have the answers and all that, the thing that is that this and all of the research by NAR and everything else still says that sellers, 73% of them only meet with one agent, and another 18% only meet with 2. And you just want to be one of those 2 agents, right? And the way you do it is you build relationships and we call it mind share. Make sure that when they think of real estate, they think of you. You're their realtor in their mind, even if you haven't serviced them yet. In your mind, they've gotten so much communication from you. That's why we say 33 touch, because you're kind of like, oh, and you say, well, Dave, isn't that overwhelming them? No, not if you're sending them useful stuff, personal, local, and about real estate, or even if it's inspirational, like a great quote or a little story, why it sold or how we bought or something like that. Or the one thing to pay attention to in this crazy market, just something like that, the one thing to pay attention to. in this crazy market and tell them what it is, you know? And so that, but like you say, then that builds your reputation. And then of course, under it all is the number one thing: people want to do business with people they trust.
Right.
But thank you for endorsing that, Seth.
When I have a relationship with someone, they just call me over and it's a done deal to list their home.
That's it. No,
That's it.
that's it. No, that, and by the way, because they already know that they want you to do it, you know, there's not, in that case, other than to just make sure what you get a sense of what their goals are, there's no serious presentation that has to be made, other than thank you,
But when
Thank
I'm
you.
other,
What's that?
when I'm up against other agents, I don't always get the listing. So what my coach said to me, you just need to establish more relationships with people who know and like you and want to do business with you.
There you go.
Instead of saying, I can't believe I didn't get it, I lost out, you know, just establish more relationships with people who like you, who will choose you to list their
Yeah.
home.
Seth, were you there at the, when we did the Why List With Me session?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's, I think there's some good things in there, even when you're in a competitive situation, which doesn't get into the, oh, how much business I've done and all that, but does get down into, you know, there's really three reasons to list with me. One, you can trust me. Two, I will answer all your questions. And three, I will protect you all the way to closing. It's funny, I got a note from a guy. I did this seminar about a month ago for another Keller Williams office, and he wrote me a note. And he said, I went on my first listing presentation that I've done since I did that seminar. And he said, I used that script and I got the listing. He said, I was competing against 3 other agents and I'm a new agent. And he said, they just liked the way I came across. And he said, it's because I used your language.
Can you repeat that again, those 3 again?
Yeah, it's just like, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's really 3 reasons to list with me. 1, you can trust me. 2, I will answer all your questions. And 3, I will protect you all the way through closing. See, and those are the things they're worried about. You know, they're worried, can they trust you? Will you answer their questions or will you abandon them? You know, that kind of thing. And you can add a little bit if you said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, three reasons to list with me. 1 is you can trust me. People who work with me tell me they trust me with their children and their bank account. You can trust me. Number 2 is I will answer all your questions. And I'm a pro, so I know what I know and I know what I don't. And if I have an answer, I'll give it to you. And if I don't have the answer, I have this world-class company behind me and I will go get us the right answer, but I will always answer your questions. And 3rd is I will protect you all the way through closing. There are going to be 75, 85 pages of legal and financial documents that need to be reviewed, make sure there's no mistakes, make sure no one's trying to take advantage of you. And I will make sure and give you the confidence to sign those docs and go to closing, but I will protect you all the way through closing. So I filled it in a little bit. It gives you the spirit of it, but you can just deliver it in that simple way. Because I think that even when you come to there's 2 kind of things that are going on. One is the sort of analytic side. Well, have they done a lot and what's the commission and all that stuff? And then there's the emotional side, which is, do I trust them? Are they going to take care of me? Are they going to make the right things happen? You know, and you want to shift the whole discussion over to that emotional side, because that's where their decision will be made.
My very first listing appointment, it was me and 2 other agents. It was in Rehoboth, and the other 2 agents were big hitters.
Yep.
And that's what I did. When I went in, I talked about emotions, trusting, and how
Yes.
I can get there. We never even talked about commission. We just talked about that. And then as I left, I was like, well, I guess those other 2 will get the listing, whatever. So, but then like 2 days later, I got a phone call and you know, the woman said, I would be honored to have you list with.
I would be honored. What an interesting thing. I would be honored.
Yeah.
So that, what a great impact, Corinne, what a great impact you had. So just, you know, lock that into your mind. Just lock that experience into your mind to say, this is what matters and this is what I bring to the table. I remember I was doing a little role playing in that Why List With Me about I'm a master of contracts, right? I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, by the way, I'm a master of real estate contracts. There will be 75 or 85 pages of legal documents that I will review on your behalf and make sure they're filled out correctly. And you can be confident to sign them because I'm a master of real estate contracts. And I had an agent get back to me and say, Dave, that was so good, because I really am good with the details in this business. I know all the legal and the documents, and I know financing, and I know property evaluation and CMAs, and I know all that, but I haven't been putting that out there in my listing presentation. I thought it was on track record and how many homes in the area I'd sold and testimonials. And she said, it's not, it's exactly about what you're just saying. And so she was feeling a lot more confident to go out and present that, because that is what matters, by the way. That is what matters. Yeah, good, Corinne. Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, I think, Lauren, we're ready to roll. Again, just feel free, anybody, dave@kw.com, send me your 3 ahas. I will send you all those documents. And remember, next, on May 18th, we're going to go Getting What You Want, which are the lessons I learned from Gary Keller and Mo Anderson about making big things happen. And I think you'll have fun with that one. And Lauren, we will get you the flyer for that, okay?
Awesome. Sounds good. Yep, that's May 18th at 1 p.m. That one got changed.
Oh, that's right. You changed that because I had a morning regional directors meeting, I think, right?
Correct. I'm actually going to post the link right now in the chat in case anyone wants to click on it. Actually, I'll share it. I can do it quickly. Right there in the chat in case anyone wants to click on it right now. But perfect. Thank you so much, Dave.
Well, thank you, Lauren, and thank you for being so organized and flexible and understanding and all of the good things that you guys are. And just to control that I-95, 495 matrix, you got it covered. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Good luck with your move.
Take care.